Back on air. All right, let's get to the big story everyone's talking about. It involves the so-called Doomsday Cult Mom, Lori Vallow-Daybell, but it's a story that's really about the search for two children.
Just let us know where the kids are.
Please, for God's sake, please.
Where are your children?
Please.
I still think everybody needs to be on the lookout. I still want to know where JJ is, and I still want to know where Tylee is.
17-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old JJ Vallow were last seen in September of 2019. When calls and FaceTimes with JJ abruptly stopped, his grandparents knew something was wrong.
All I want before I go is just to see those children.
Searchers have looked in Arizona, Idaho, and Hawaii. Still, no sign of JJ or Tylee. At the center of the story, their mother, Lori Vallow-Daybell, and her new husband, Chad Daybell, both connected to the children's disappearances, a string of mysterious deaths, and a doomsday cult. What do we know so far about this case? Let's start from the beginning.
And getting to the beginning of the story is not an easy thing. Let's bring everyone back in. And I want to start here with just one word to describe this case. Seema.
Twisted.
Julie.
Dangerous.
Disgusting.
Ted. All right. So the latest that we're getting now is really going back to the beginning of all this when they were living in Arizona, Chandler, Arizona. Lori Vallow at the time, married to Charles Vallow. He is shot and killed. And now we've got a statement from the police in Chandler, Arizona that says, into the death of Charles Vallow, this investigation is still ongoing and detectives have and still are working hard to determine what exactly occurred on the day of Charles's death. Lori is a strong investigative lead in this investigation. Ted Rollins, let me start with you. What's the significance here of all this?
Well, basically, as an email surfaced this week, Vinny, and Fox 10 out of Phoenix was able to find this email, and it came from one of the detectives in Chandler, Arizona, one of the main detectives following this case, sent to an unidentified person. But in this email, it says that we are talking about the investigators close to possibly indicting Lori Vallow for her role in her ex-husband's murder. Huge development, because now it appears as though we don't know what the evidence is, because all of the witnesses to Charles Vallow's death are either dead or missing. Tylee was there. Her brother, Alex Cox, is the one who says that he killed her ex-husband in self-defense. He's now dead. So what do they have? They probably have communication between Cox and Lori Vallow. The bottom line is they have something. They have something on her, and don't be surprised if her next court appearance is in Arizona, answering to accessory to murder charges, maybe not in Idaho, where she's expected to be back in court for her preliminary hearing dealing with the kids. A huge development that the Arizona investigation has now taken this next step, if you believe that email.
Yeah, Julie and Seema, I want everyone to take a look at the video. This is from the day of the shooting of Charles Vallow's body cam video, and Lori Vallow looks a little nonchalant in her response there. Let's take a look.
I turned around and he hit me in the back of the head with a bat. So I went to my room and got my gun.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Unreal response here. What should we read anything into? Who is this woman, Seema? Who is she?
I'll tell you who she is. She's more concerned about her appearance than she is about being a human being. This is the same Lori Vallow that came to court in Idaho, done up, made up, more makeup than Julie and I ever wear on the television, and totally nonchalant. She's just like, oh yeah, do you have a question for me? The same way she was rolling her eyes during that arraignment and bail proceeding in Idaho when the judge kept asking her, do you understand? Do you understand? And she was just like, yeah, I get it. It's fine. No, that's it. She has nothing to say.
Julie, she's got like these she's got these movie star sunglasses on. Her husband's just been shot and killed by her brother.
Oh,
Right. You know, Vinny, you asked us for one word to describe the case at the start of the show this hour, and I have one word to describe Lori Vallow-Daybell: filthy. Filthy, filthy, filthy. What she has allegedly done so far, to me, this case stinks to high heaven. And bravo to those bail bondsmen in Idaho. Bravo to them for not working with her. I was fit to be tied when that judge reduced her $5 million bail and made it $1 million. That's still too little with her. She should have no bail, and we ought to find a way to get her to talk, because she's still, by the way, in violation of that order. Remember, the prosecutor back in Madison County, Idaho, got that order in January to produce your 2 children, and still hasn't produced them. So I say this case is dangerous, and she is filthy, because who is next? Who's going to wind up dead or missing next, Vinny?
Yeah, and there's a pile of bodies, but if you go back to the relationship that she has with her new husband, Chad Daybell, Ted, this whole thing, and EastIdahoNews.com got a picture of this, which was information about Lori Vallow's wedding ring. And we've got some wedding photos, beautiful photos. Ted, this is pretty close to the death of Chad's former wife, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's disgusting, this whole scenario here. So there's Lori and Chad on the beach. Look at how lovely that couple is.
Romantic,
And there's
Ted,
her
it's
wedding ring. Well,
romantic.
guess what? She bought that wedding ring, apparently, on eBay, bought it herself, 17 days before Tammy Daybell died. Who's Tammy Daybell? Well, that was the loving wife of her new husband, Chad Daybell. She knew she was going to be marrying the husband of a woman that was still alive, a very religious family, the LDS folks, but somehow she knew that, well, Tammy's going to end up dead and I'll get to marry Chad, so I better buy a ring, apparently, on Amazon. Another huge development in this case, that if she knew that Tammy Daybell was going to end up dead mysteriously, and by the way, her body has been exhumed because she was originally, it was determined that she died of natural causes, died in her sleep. 49-year-old woman who was in perfect health dies in her sleep. They have now exhumed her body, and Chad better watch out too, but also Lori Daybell.
Yes.
This ring is a big deal.
Vinny, you know when Ted is pulling out the disgusting and Julie's pulling out the filthy, you know how bad a case it's got to be to get this much vitriol from our partners, okay?
Unbelievable.
Right.
And there was a time before she was arrested, they were down in Hawaii, and it was Chad and it was Lori, and again, it was the East Idaho News, trying to get them to just answer a simple question. Let's take a look.
Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
That's great. That's great that they're praying for you, praying for your kids. What? You have nothing to say? Did you do something to your children? Are your children still alive? That's a simple question. I've got 3 kids of my own. I can tell you every minute where my kids are at. Where are your children?
Not answering those questions, Julie, and it gets back to what you were saying before. I mean, simple question, where are your children?
Exactly, Vinny. Pants on fire, Lori Daybell. Pants on fire, Chad Daybell. Answer the question, just like that reporter asked. It's a simple question. I mean, heck, I know where my cat is right now. I can account for where the cat is. You know, be a responsible, be a human being. That's why I say she is filthy, in my opinion. And Chad Daybell, I'm with you, Ted Rollins. I think he is next. We have great federal agents who are working this case. I can tell you from having been a prosecutor at the state level that investigators always know more than they will share with the public. And that's the way it should be, especially in order to not jeopardize an investigation. And we all pray to God those 2 kids are still alive. If they are, we don't want to jeopardize that. If there's any plot to harm them in any way, then they already may have been harmed. But Chad Daybell, you know, the audacity, they're in Hawaii, November 5th. Those 2 sick lovebirds go to Hawaii November 5th. As you mentioned, Ted, Tammy Daybell died on October 19th. and these two are already honeymooning. She's barely in the ground. Mr. Doomsday, he wrote one of his books was titled Living on the Edge of Heaven. I think they ought to issue a re-edition, maybe Living on the Edge of Prison. How about that if we get a conspiracy charge going against him? What do you guys think about that, Vinny?
Julie's on fire tonight, folks.
Oh,
Julie is
this
on
case
fire
makes me
tonight,
so
Seema. I've never
mad.
seen this before.
I have never seen Julie like this before, except maybe for Scott Nelson. Julie, this was a little Scott Nelson, Julie Grant coming out because her list of adjectives is growing long. But Julie Grant, listen, I'm telling you, if this comes through that there is an indictment for Charles Vallow, you're going to get your wish. She's going to be remanded. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, my friend. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, great to have the gang back together tonight. Seema Iyer, Julie Grant, and Ted Rollins. You know what? Let's do it again tomorrow.
Please.
Sounds like a plan.